To be called selfish, to be considered self-centered.
Like, it actually cannot be named that. Like, I don't want to be associated with the word selfish in any context.
Girl, selfish is not a bad word. It is about self-respect. It is about what we want. It is about self-care. It is about self-love, self-fulfillment. Welcome to the Self-ish Latina podcast, where we get to be self-ish together. Okay, are we ready?
We're rolling.
You're so awesome. All right, so here we go. Is there a good time to jump? We are going to explore this topic in this episode of the Selfish Latina podcast. You're about to meet three phenomenal women inside this jam-packed episode. They are all members of EDA and have been working on their dream now for the past several months. We're going to explore exactly what they're up to, why they jumped, when they did it, and what it was like for them before and what it's like for them now.
Okay, hi, I'm Rosalia Rivera. I'm a consent educator, the host of the About Consent podcast, the creator of Consentware, and an abuse survivor turned thriver. And what was the other question?
You're so awesome. Everyone's just like loving you already. So tell us what you did before.
So before this, I was actually a marketing strategist and a brand builder. And I did that for most of my career and decided to make the change a few months ago. It's been an ongoing process, but that's what I was doing before. And then I made the jump to what I'm doing now.
Awesome. And tell us, where do you live? Because it's a very interesting place that you live.
So I live in Northern Ontario, Canada. I live on a farm with my family. We have 180 acres. Half of it is wild. So it's very, very different from where I grew up, which was New York.
Thank you, Rosalia. Okay, Irisneri, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Irisneri Alicea Flores. I am, right now, I'm a genealogist, and I have Descubre tu Historia, which also means discover your story. And so basically I want to help others find their story through their genealogy, through their ancestry, and find peace and healing that can come with that, especially when there has been certain things in the past of people that, you know, they want to try to make peace with or find more information about. And I was, or still am, hopefully one day not, I'm a human resource assistant.
Got it. All right. Awesome. And where do you live?
I live in Holyoke, Massachusetts, but I'm originally from Puerto Rico.
Awesome. Thank you, Irisneri.
I grew up in Amherst, so just around.
Oh, Henry wants to let you know that he grew up in Amherst, just around the corner.
What?
Yes. Small world. I guess that's a really
That is a very small world.
All right. Gina Solano.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Gina Solano, and I have been in the advertising and marketing industry for over 25 years. When I met Denise, I was extremely frustrated and jobless and didn't know where exactly to take my career. And she really helped me get some focus in my life and pursue my dream of being a writer. So currently, I'm about this close to finishing my first chapter, which I'm really excited about. And I am going to proclaim myself as a future book author.
Nice. Snaps to that.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yes.
So thanks for joining me, ladies, on this call. It's so funny. We meet on Zoom and it feels like we're like, you know, right next to each other, but really we're like all over the place. Gina lives in my backyard. But the ladies, for the most part in the program, really are spread all over the country. And in your case, Rosalia, in Northern Canada, which I think you said it's the northernmost like human beings actually live in Canada, right?
Close. There is further north, but we're the biggest city this far north.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, so in this episode, we're talking about when is the right time to jump. And I have a lot of opinions on that. And if you follow the project and you follow me, you know that I held on to the idea to make the film Being Eñye for 17 years. And so for 17 years, I really did believe that now was absolutely not the right time to jump. And clearly, I changed my mind about it. But it was a really long journey. Now, these ladies decided to jump, and we're going to find out why it is that they decided that now was the time for them. So, Rosalia, tell us about the moment that you decided that it was time for you to jump.
I went through a series of attempting to jump and then getting cold feet and pulling back, and that has been going on for almost 20 years as well. But in the last 2 years, there's been an evolution that's been happening. And when I first heard about your EDA program, I think back in November of 2018. And it seemed interesting, and I thought, that's probably the kind of thing that would help me, but I just didn't feel ready, and I had other things going on. And then I heard about it again in the new year, and I was like, it was on my radar. And then finally, when I had this idea for my business, which I was finally thinking, okay, this is it, but I was still really scared. I knew that it was time to get help, that I needed some guidance, because every time that I tried to do it myself, I didn't have anybody to be accountable to, so I would just pull back. So there was just this voice in my head that said, this is the time, that's who you need to do it with. And that's when I contacted you, and I said, okay, I'm ready, and I'm just at the beginning, but I'm ready to dive in.
Yeah, and so I have to say, you were very certain. I experienced you very certain. And it's interesting that it was something you grappled with for 20 years and then more consolidated in 2 years. What would you say was, if any, was there like a line in the sand, like moment when you're like, I'm done, like it's do or die? Like, what was there a moment like that for you?
There was. I think it was a sense of urgency that there was a video that I had recently seen, and it really shook me up, and was this moment of, if I don't do it now, I'm just letting time go by, and it's just like sand, right? It just like slips out of your hands. And I just thought, if I don't do this now, I'm going to just live with regret, and I need to either do it or shut up about it. So I finally, I said, okay, I've got to do this. And I knew I needed the accountability piece. Funny enough, I feel like I'm the type that will be more accountable to others than to myself. So this felt like the right time.
Yeah. And FYI, that is the case, like, for everything. That's just how we're wired. And I love, the metaphor. It's like sand going through your hands. Like, that is what it feels like. And once you're present to it, I could see how it was the certainty came when you were that present to, like, how fleeting this really is. If you don't grab it, you won't have it. So thanks. How do you feel about that, Irisneri? What was your experience with this?
Wow. I mean, I think about the same thing, but around 3 years ago, I kind of started a process, especially my daughter hitting that age. She's 12 years old, and questioning, and me having to tell her, you do what you love, whatever it is, as long as it makes you happy. I started feeling like a hypocrite.
Whoa.
Because I'm not doing what I loved. I've always loved history, listening to stories, discovering research. It's a passion of mine. I mean, it doesn't feel like work. Like, I know now how that feels. It's not work. Mm-hmm. And I started this process, and I started like evolving and having this self-awareness that I probably did not have before, or that I didn't have before, and started doing things and pushing myself to do things, like seeing you on the film and saying, I need to meet her. I somehow, and I wrote that email. I would have never dared to do something like that. And when I got to meet you and finally approaching you, I would have never done anything like that. Just being so aware that I am doing all these things, and then I realized, and then talking to you, then I realized this is what I want to do. I mean, I was very scared, as you know, because I kept waiting for the perfect action. No, I have to do my certification first. No, I have to do this first. And when you told me it's about being the right person, forget about the certification. As long as you know that you're the right person to do this, and your passion for it, that's all you need. And I'm discovering that's the truth.
That's awesome. So, and you're actually helping me right now with some really interesting stuff. And we can't talk too much about it, but definitely have unearthed some interesting truths that you very expertly have found. And so you're clearly very good at what you do. And so, yeah, do you think that making a change like the one that you did, which is really coming into what you've always been passionate about. You've always been passionate about history. Mm-hmm. What you do, you say you love it. Like, it's like when you describe what you do, genealogy, it's like the face that you have on is like, I believe it. Like if the volume was down and all I saw was your face, I would say you were speaking the truth because you just totally glow when you talk about it. It's clearly something you love. Do you think, and it's just funny and ironic, it's like, wow, this is something you totally love, yet it's terrifying, the idea. Remember, like to make the jump without the certification. And I really want to touch on that because there is a thing that people use to hold themselves and their dreams back. And that is, I don't have whatever. And in your case, it was a certification. And so what was it like for you just to decide that it wasn't important and that you were going to do it anyway?
It was liberating. It was liberating. I mean, it was so just to see that, just to go by my passion and what I love. I mean, yes, I want to keep learning and there's new things you can, because you never stop learning, but it was just liberating to know I am free to do this. I can do this. And I'm going to do this. And it's hard to describe because so many, you always, everybody dreams of your best life. If you could picture your best life. And I can finally picture it. And I'm finally feeling I can have it.
It's really an identity shift too for all three of you. It's funny, like you guys really have embodied these new identities, which is really not new. It's just coming back to who you really were, right? But you embody them so much. It's probably even hard to describe like this place before. All right, Miss Gina Solano, what's your take on all of this?
Well, one of the things that came to mind when I talked to you, Denise, is, I was at a point where I was just spinning the wheels in my career. And the quote of Albert Einstein's quote, to be exact, the definition of insanity is repeating the same actions over and over again and expecting different results. That's what was resonating in my mind when I talked to you and afterwards, and thinking, okay, I keep on spinning, what can I do different? And there was just a connection that you and I had. And just the message of what you were talking about and everything that I identified with in terms of, being Latino and, an older woman in her career and, just focusing on your dreams. It just kind of came to a point where I said to myself, okay, like I need to stop the insanity and do something different here. And this Dream Accelerator course, it really was different because I have been seeing a coach who's like a friend of mine for the past year, and he gives me really great advice and gives me great exercises, and that's all fine and good. And I've really have been appreciative for what he's been doing, what he did for me. But your course is different because there's this accountability type of positioning to it, not only to all the people that you're working with and to you personally, but more importantly to yourself. And I knew that just being accountable to yourself and coming to, the resolution that if I wanted something different to happen, then I need to start being accountable to myself. So the weekly exercises and the goals that you gave us and things to think about really helped me along in, being accountable for my work and actually doing something about it.
Yeah, and so one of those things is clearing out a space for yourself. So when we first started, one of the very first activities that people do in the Dream Accelerator is clear the space. We clear our emotional space and also the physical space. And you had your office in a different space. And if you're listening to the podcast, it was a completely different space, and the calls are on Zoom, and so we could see where she was. It looked like a living room, and their front door was behind you. And then when we did the clear the space exercise, over a very short period of time, you transformed an extra bedroom in your house, which is where you're sitting now, which is this beautiful space now. What was it like for you to make that transformation?
Well, it was really hard for me to make that transformation because, number one, it's disrupting the people around me. So announcing to my husband, hey, guess what? I'm going to move my whole office into the spare bedroom, and we need to rip out the carpet, and we need to put, new furniture in there. Like, just making that announcement was, it took a lot. And then, second of all, is this turning one of my spare bedrooms into my office. Like, who am I? I got people, I got a huge family. They're always coming to Colorado to visit. I love having people in my home. So it's getting rid of one bedroom and turning it into my office. And so there was coming to terms with that as well. But what I found is it really helped me having my own space. My view is different. I had a beautiful view of the mountains in my old office. Now I have a view of the street, but that doesn't even, resonate with me anymore. It's all about what I have surrounded around me. So I did a mock-up of my book, and it's just at my desk every day. I did, collateral items. I hung them up on the wall of my brand and what I visualized, and I just transformed my whole room to what my dream is. And it's a wonderful thing to have. It's right next to my bedroom, and sometimes if I get up at 4 o'clock and can't go back to sleep, guess what I'll do? I'll walk 12 steps to the next room, and I'll start writing. And it's just great to have it here. So that was one of the hardest things to do of the whole accelerated course, was to actually change my location of my office. But boy, I'm sure glad I did.
That's amazing. And thanks for sharing. And I've just two things. First, I'm just thinking how, you had your design and then you made that into a mock-up. And that was very early on. And to think that you already have one chapter written. And if we were to say, like, what do you think the number one reason is that's holding you back from going for your dream? Would you have said changing the location of your office?
No, I wouldn't, I wouldn't think that would be one of the tools for getting there. Because it seems so minor, but it also seems so major. And, it's like putting on a new dress and, going into a job interview. There's just like this confidence. It's this armor of getting your things done. And it's really has transformed my thinking and just the way I approach everything, just to have my own little space.
That's awesome. And I think what you said, I just don't want to step over it, is like this feeling of like, who am I to have a dedicated space? Because aren't you one of 5 sisters? Are you the 6th sister or are you the 5th sister?
I have 5 sisters. Yeah. 5 sisters. Yeah, I'm the middle child, the big.
Okay. Yeah. So think about all those kids and think about all those women coming in. And I mean, like, we know what it's like to be Latino. No one's staying in a hotel. They're staying at her house. And so there's people sleeping in the living room now instead of sleeping in the room that's your office. And so what is that like to say, you know what, this is mine?
Yeah. It's a really nice feeling. It makes me more comfortable to be who I am, because I don't have to worry about anybody else in this space. Mm-hmm. I don't have to worry about, my husband's desk, which was previously next to mine, and my stuff getting onto him, or me, being too loud on a phone call if he's in the room. This is my space. It has allowed me to be me.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And it's been great. And I know a lot of the women commented how amazing those before and after pictures were that you posted. It was really cool to see how everyone had kind of transformed their space. Because, I mean, the work happens inside, right? And then the reflection is our outer world. And I know that you also had lost like 80 pounds in the last 2 years, right? So I think also, I just want to point that out because it's a really good thing to have an incredibly big accomplishment, personal accomplishment like that, and to anchor the possibility of something else manifesting that also is personal, like a personal expression. And so I always thought that was a really interesting thing that you had done as an adult, because it's not easy. And anyway, all right, awesome. So thanks, ladies. This is great. Now, we're going to talk about being selfish, because a lot of times people hold back on their dream because they feel like it's too selfish to focus on myself. I feel like I'm betraying my kids or my family or I don't know what my mother's going to think. I feel like I should be using this time or these resources for my children or for something else more worthwhile than me, right? So starting with Rosalia, what has been your experience with pursuing this as far as how it relates to feeling selfish?
Yeah, I grew up with my mom always, telling us the opposite, right? To just give to everyone else. And so that was what I grew up with. And it's been a struggle with having 3 children, because especially even my mother-in-law, who raised all of her kids, 5 kids, as a stay-at-home mom, and has always kind of not intentionally made me feel like, oh, I should stay home and just care for my kids until they're like, out of the nest, because that's what she did. And so I've always been wrestling with like the voices in my head about my mom and my mother-in-law, and really wanting to have a career where I'm fulfilled personally, yet also, having to do the hours that are required to get it off, get it started. And so it's always been a battle, and I'm very fortunate that my husband is very supportive, but even still, there is time where I'm working on projects and I feel like I should be spending time with my kids, or I should be spending time with my husband, so it's always a juggle. But the more that I realize how passionate I am about this work, and the more I actually feel fulfilled by it, I'm actually a better mother and a better wife and a better friend. So I think it's just a matter of finding ways to integrate those pieces of my life into this career and making it sustainable for myself and everyone else, and making sure I'm taking the time to do self-care, because I now understand how powerful that is. Before it was like, oh, I'll do all of this work and I'm grinding, like burning the candle on this end to try to get all this work done, but not taking care of myself. So I was thinking I was being selfish, but I really wasn't. I was just like, still taking care of everyone else and then taking care of the work, but not taking care of me. Mm-hmm. And so that balance, that has been another key piece that I'm realizing now, even just like watching you on your Instagram stories about like working out and taking care of your body and making that a priority has influenced me to make sure that I'm meditating and that I'm doing the things that are going to be good for me, so that I can sustain all of these other areas of my life.
And thanks for your encouraging words. So for those of you who are listening, I have decided to totally take on my self-care to the highest level, and just committed to moving my body every single day. Some days, it's about 5 days a week, it's pretty intense, and the other 2 days it's more light. But there's a handful of people that just, and Rosalia, you are one of those people that just say encouraging words, and they mean the world to me. And so I agree with you. It's interesting. But it's interesting that we're kind of both at the same spot, because once you pursue this thing that's your dream, it's not like I have a joke, like I had this idea, like when I'm a size 6, everything is going to be roses, and everything's going to be perfect, right? Or like that lottery kind of mentality, like when this happens, then forget it, it's all over, I'm going to be happy 24/7, right? And we know that that's not the case. Like, yeah, can you check the box that you're pursuing your dream? Totally. And guess what? Once you do that, you realize what you need to sustain that. And to sustain that means giving more to yourself, which is an incredible gift. So I admire that you're at that spot, and I'm super excited that you're at that spot. And I also want to make note that you're experiencing being a better mom, because a lot of people think they're taking away. But what many people report after doing the course and being in EDA is that they're better. They're just better in general. And it's like, wow, yeah, like, you are, I know you are, clearly you are in marketing and graphic design. Your stuff is gorgeous. And who you are is about consent. Who you are is this thought leader in this world that you're just embracing and sharing all your knowledge to. And so it's just incredible to see you blossoming in the way that you are and spreading your wings. And it's obviously what you're meant to do. Thanks for sharing that. So what would you tell other people, Rosalia, about that? What would you tell people that might be really successful in something else, but have this yearning to do something else?
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's funny that, that's the question, because I was really successful in my marketing business, and a lot of people were like, why are you changing? And I think that it's just that you may be skilled at something, but that's still not your passion. And that's something that, takes a lot of inner work to have the courage and strength to say, okay, I may be good at this, but this is really what my dream is. And to start working towards that. I've been planning a lot of this for a long time. And then it was a matter of having the courage to finally make the leap. But a lot of it was like just fear of failing, right? If I do this, which I'm successful here, but I'm taking this leap where I could completely fail, why would I be crazy and do that? And I think it's just that you have to have a lot of conversations with yourself where you're like, I think meditation for me was really powerful because I have those conversations. Like I'm shutting out the world and just looking at what does my heart say? What is that calling? Like, what am I truly wanting to do? And what is it that isn't like leaving me alone, right? Sometimes it's that voice that just keeps nagging you to say, you're missing out on your true joy. And so I when you start to finally pay attention and listen, the voice gets louder. It either gets louder or it goes away. And so depending on where it's leading you, then that's where you have to go. And I think that if we don't listen to that louder voice, it eventually either drives us crazy or we go into a depression because we're not pursuing the thing that is lighting us up, that is calling to us. And so I finally said, okay, I'm going to listen because otherwise it's going to drive me crazy. And I finally decided to do that. And I think that if you get quiet enough within yourself, and start paying attention and start doing little things, even if it's just little tiny things to keep moving in that direction, and that's bringing you more and more joy, then that's pointing you in the direction to say that's where you need to go. That's what you need to do. That's what you need to keep nourishing, is that voice that's directing you.
Yeah, and so many things about that. I do have to say, there's a Rosalia that's like in the course and on this interview, and then there's a Rosalia that busts out her knowledge on your expertise about consent. And I have to say, I'm in your course right now. She has a course, she just launched it. And it's really remarkable. And I think I told you, like, and here's another thing I loved. And just so you know, this is really important. And it's like it's like you just become, or no, you embraced her, this person, this version of you that was kind of bugging you, right? And like wanted center stage. She just wanted the spotlight. And you know what? She needs it because she's helping a lot of people. And it's just so cool to see you in your element, not only just because it's like impressive, but also it's incredibly difference making. What you're up to in the world is just an incredible gift. And so it's cool to see how you share about it. And then also too, like we're here for a reason. And there's some people that are listening and they're like, what's my reason? So getting quiet helps, right? Seeing where you're curious helps. And deciding not to ignore that one thing that you don't believe is ever possible in a million years, right? That helps. And you can kind of start walking towards it slowly. And I really do believe people do know what they want. It's just they just don't believe it's possible. And so it's really remarkable. All three of you have a vision that's so big, and it's all around making a difference in the world. And really all three of you are trying to heal the world in your own way. And it really brings me to my knees. It really does. It's something that I can't even talk about for too long without crying. I just really appreciate you and what you're doing in the world, Rosalia. So thank you. All right. So Irisneri, tell me, as a mom, and I'm sure you have dealt with this, too, about a time that you felt like you were selfish for pursuing your dreams.
Oh, wow. I mean, I come from a very traditional, you know, my parents are from Puerto Rico, born in Puerto Rico. I was born in Puerto Rico, and then we moved here when I was 8, but very traditional. And I am the oldest of 6. So as the oldest, yeah, I feel, especially in the Latino community, Latinx community, there is a sense of responsibility you're given over your siblings, over your family. So it was embedded in me very early on, you know, got to take care of the people around you. The people, as long as everybody's around you, it's okay, you're okay. Once you grow up, you discover, no, you have to be okay. It has to start with you. It is, but yes, it's good to take care of your family and everything, but if you're not okay, and if you're not fulfilling yourself and taking care of yourself and learning to be a little selfish, because we are taught, no seas egoísta, no hagas eso. You need to switch your gears and really turn it around and say, yeah, it is okay to be selfish. It is okay to take care of myself, because really, truly, if you're not okay, you're not going to be able to take care of the people around you properly. You're not going to be your best mom. You're not going to be your best wife, your best friend. You're not, because if you're not treating yourself that way, the most precious thing is yourself. And you got to get beyond that. The guilt, obviously, because the most precious thing should be your children. And they are very precious. But if I'm not taking care of myself, what am I doing? They're seeing a mom that's cranky, that's not, you know, is tired. Because when you're tired, you get cranky. And they're not seeing the best side of you. And I've learned that now, now I am working my full time still and doing my Descubre tu Historia. So I am a little tired, but I am so happy. And it shows. And even with my daughter, she just comes to me and hugs me and says, Mama, you look so happy. I'm so happy for you. Oh. And that means so much. And yes, I think for me now, I'm in that stage where the self-care needs to start coming in, because I need to be able to sustain until I'm able to completely jump and do this full time.
Yeah. It's funny, right? How kids can see that joy.
Yeah.
It's like they have X-ray vision, you know?
And they call you on it.
I just wanted to point one thing out too, that I found was really important when I was trying to balance the self-care piece in, is that I think even as Latinas, we are not taught to ask for help. And so we're like, okay, I just need to figure out how to fit this time in for my self-care. And it's like, okay, I'll just sleep 1 hour less so I can go get a massage. And it's like, no. A lot of that also has to do with like asking our partners or asking our family to step in and help us have that self-care. And that's hard to even do. But I know that, you know, when I was starting to try to find ways to do self-care, it was like, well, I have to ask my partner to step in more, because I was just always taught to just, you know, they do what they do and I do what I do. And it was like, wait, we're in 2019. Like, step up a little, you know? So anyway, I just wanted to just jump in and say that, because that's what I've learned as part of my self-care too.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So true. So true. Gina, what's your take on it? Being selfish, going after your thing and feeling selfish about it?
Basically kind of having a self-realization of, well, why not me? You know, my husband takes special time for himself, or, you know, he'll articulate something that needs to be done that'll take a large chunk of my time, and I'll do it, you know, without any question. But again, as a Latina, you know, I question that. I put other people's priorities about, you know, in front of mine. And, you know, it just gets to a point where I don't know if it's an age thing where you stop and you think, well, why not me? You know, why not me? I mean, you know, I'm the pillar of this family just as much as he is. And, I deserve it. And it's, it's not a big deal once it is done either. So I think it's just the exercises too got me to ask that question, why not me? And then also an important thing that has really helped me throughout this journey is the question of, does this serve me? Yeah. So, when I'm taking another priority of what my goal is, whether, it's writing, it's like, well, how does this really serve me? Is this serving me to help me get my goal? Or is it, serving me that's something that is minor that I can, address maybe on the weekend? So that question is popped up as well.
That is awesome. And I love how you just said, like, once you claim your, like, why not me? And when you compare yourself to your husband, right? Like another leader of the family, like you're kind of saying, no, I'm also a leader of the family. And then ultimately when it's done, it's not that big of a deal. So I feel like we oftentimes perceive it to be bigger than what it is. Or if it is a big deal, we realize we can handle it. Mm-hmm. And so it's either one of those two things, right? So even if it pisses people off, we actually have the tools to handle it. So thanks for bringing that up.
One last thing.
Yes, please.
Jumping in. No, just Gina, when she mentioned that, it reminded me that, like, in EDA, in your like weekly assignments, there was that one assignment where you're like, reach out and ask for help. Mm-hmm. And that was where this came from, because I was like, oh yeah, I should be asking for help. Because I'm trying to, phase out my other business, start my new business. The kids are home for the summer. My mom is gone. And, it's like, oh yeah, I have, like, and she's, you're saying, like, seek out help and who are the people and write it down. And it was like that whole accountability piece. And I was like, okay, I'm pushing myself to ask for help. And that was a really good new habit that I've started forming. So.
Yeah, it's almost like I had this conversation with someone. I said, it's not like it's in our DNA that we can't ask for help. It's not. It's like not embedded, but it freaking feels like it, because it's like, damn it, it's not my first freaking thing. Like, oh, I think I'll ask for help. No, my first thing is, I got this. Leave me alone. I don't want you to know my problems. I don't want anyone to know that I struggle. It's like it becomes this huge thing. And then I'm like, no, hang on. Maybe I should just reach out. And something that's, and I go through it too. I mean, many of you know that I moved to a neighborhood where I actually have friends. I was living downtown pretty remotely for many, many, many years. And living down there kind of served a purpose. Like, no one really could be in our business, but there's really not that many people I could reach out to for help either. And my friends that were able to reach out to lived a little too far away. Like, we really only had one family that we could reach out to. And that was awesome. And now we live in a neighborhood where I have 3 really dear friends, and they're just like, yeah, they're up in my business in the best way possible, and like, they're just dying to love me. And all I was doing before was shutting that love out. And it's fascinating that was my inclination, was when we act like we don't need anybody, we also shut out the love and shut out the support. And I have to say, in the group, there's so much love. And Gina just decided that she was going to help everybody with their branding, and so she made logos and business cards, and that happened very early on. And I feel like the feedback and the help that the group kind of gave each other helped to create a lot of community, which is, it's a beautiful thing, and I'd love to take credit for it, but really it's what happens when you're open to receiving help and also wanting to give help. But people in the group had to be open to receive it. And yeah, there's a homework assignment where you have to ask for help. And it's really to challenge that muscle, because right now that muscle is very weak. If you're a Latina, your muscle is very weak. And so in the program, we're going to give you some 10-pound bags to start lifting. And we just do reps, and we cry, and we share, and we get better, right? And this is all about progress. But we all have the self-awareness, because really that's, at the end of the day, the biggest gift is the self-awareness. And then we get a chance to change our mind. So if our inclination is, I'm not going to ask for help, I can do this, I got this, I don't need anybody, right? All of a sudden we hear it loud and clear, and it's like, wait, but do I want to live my life like this? And like what Gina said, does it really serve me, right? And then you start thinking about the cost. And if the cost is that I don't get to have these loving relationships, well, I don't want to pay that price. Listeners and people that are watching, right when this video started, everyone had a big smile on their face, plastered on their face, including me, because it's so great to see each other again. And we really met, you know, for a few months, you know, same bat time, same bat channel, and have really fallen in love with each other and fallen in love with each other's dreams. And there's something really special when you allow yourself to get wrapped into a community that cares about something really big and aspires to do something really big individually. What happens is the community ends up having its own kind of identity, and it's become, for me, one of the most special times points in my day is when I get a chance to hop on with you guys. So let's talk about imposter syndrome. And Gina kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to talk about it a little bit deeper. So when Gina said, like, who am I to do this? Like, who am I to clean out this office and rip out the carpet and change the whole thing? It was really like an HGTV episode. I was like, that can't be the same room. Like, I even showed the picture to my husband. I'm like, this is not the same room. And, but yeah, it was like a transformation. And so, but you know, she had that feeling, and there was another gal and another cohort of EDA that also had a real struggle, but did it anyway. And also, I mean, like a slingshot, after she redesigned her room, things started happening. We all struggle with imposter syndrome, which is being a member of a marginalized community, even more so, because we really feel like the way that we live, like we're just so lucky to be in all the spaces. Like, we're taught to be so grateful for every little tiny morsel that we have. And that's good. And it's good to be grateful, but it also is the seeds to kind of feeling like we never deserved it anyway. And so when we get something really great, like bigger than a crumb, we feel oftentimes we don't deserve it, or we shouldn't be there, or maybe they made a mistake. And so, Rosalia, tell us about a time that you felt like that, and how did you get through it?
There's still times where I feel that, and it's a daily work. Like it's a practice, I think, to overcome, because it's so ingrained for so long in your life. Making such a drastic, you know, switch of where I was to what I'm doing now, and being new at it, I think especially makes you feel like, okay, are people, you know, what are people going to think? Are they going to judge? Are they not going to care? Is my voice going to be, you know, drowned out by others? Like, you're always, I think it starts with a lot of the comparison game too, where you're looking at everybody else who's been at it for 20 years and you're like, nobody's going to pay attention because I'm not there. So that, I think that it's about focusing on your own strengths. Like, that's what the work that I've been doing is focusing on what I do know, really owning my experience as well, because I used to think, well, it's not enough. And, you know, when I start to actually take stock of what I do know and what I have lived and how I am helping and who I have helped, like, when you start to take stock of it, you realize, okay, that there is value and I am doing something positive and I'm helping. And then it alleviates a lot of that feeling of imposter. And I think that all starts to help you show up more authentically. And like, I'm still working on removing masks that I've had, you know, where you want to try to present yourself perfect. And when I realize that other people are, you know, they want to see the real, they want to see, you know, the struggles. They don't want to just see the success, but they want to see how the dirty, messy ways that you got there. That's actually really helpful for people. And I didn't realize that before until I started realizing that that's what was helping me, you know, to be able to show up more raw in a sense, you know. And it's a daily practice. It's just always trying to remind myself, and then fostering that community, right? So it's one of the things that I loved about this program is that I was in a community that was always supportive. So when I had those doubts, you know, I went in and was like, you know, this is stuff that I'm scared of, and you'd get that support system, you know. So I think having the right people around you, and then doing the work every day to remind yourself, take stock, all of that has been really helpful because it's still a daily struggle, but it's less. It's so much less than it was when I first started.
It's like the volume gets turned down. Like there's a concern about, oh my God, what am I going to look like? Or am I going to sound like I know what I'm talking about? I mean, I can relate to that 100%. And if you follow me on IG, you actually, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I only showed up with my lashes on and my hair done for a long time. And then about, I don't know, 5 months ago, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I decided, you know what? I don't always have my lashes on and my hair's not always done. As a matter of fact, I mostly don't have either one of them done or makeup. And I walk around pretty cash. I have never gotten more people engaging with me personally since I just showed people, like most of the time I have a moño, like a bun on top of my head. I don't wear my lashes, I don't wear makeup, and I'm just kind of walking around in the sweatshirt or whatever else is my favorite zippy sweatshirt because I love the zip sweatshirts. And like, that's it, you know, and more people, which is, I have felt more of an experience of kind of being able to share kind of what's on my mind. And like, I get these, I call them like, just like divine moments of inspiration. And I want to share, and in the past, I wanted to share them like last year, and I didn't share them because I was afraid of what I look like. And so when you just said, like, just allowing yourself, like what I just wrote down, the dirty, messy, allowing the dirty, messy, right? You actually want to show up more, and you show up better, and you show up more you and more lovable. Incidentally, it's like the joke is on us, right? Like no one cares about my lashes except for me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Thanks, girl. All right, Irisneri, what do you think of this?
Yeah, considering, you know, it's history. So when you say history, people, and I work in higher ed, so you're thinking people that have to have a PhD and have to be published. That's not me. And I got very intimidated by that for a very long time. And, you know, sometimes I would hear them talking and certain big things, big words, and I'm like, how can I do this? I'm almost 40. I don't want to get a PhD now. Maybe this is just a hobby. This is it. This is all I'm going to do. This is because I can't be at that level. I'm not at that level. And it's, I think like Rosalia said, it's just looking deep into yourself, looking at your strengths, looking at what you're good at, looking at what you can do. And that's when I started looking at all of that and looking at all the information. I mean, if you see my work area, it's like all my books, all the information I get, that there is a talent to that. And I'm like, I'm good at this. I don't need a PhD to know how to look for things and to look deep. I just need to know I can do it and not be afraid to ask for help and to collaborate with people. And start, yes, it's a struggle every day. Every day there's a bit of a struggle, but the volume has definitely been taken down. I have joined Facebook groups where other genealogists are talking and collaborating with each other, and we're just natural. Like there's nobody pretending this or you have to have this. We're just people passionate about finding our stories, passionate about helping others find their stories, and I can just be me. I don't have to be that accomplished, published, with all due respect to people that definitely have accomplished, but I don't have to be that. As long as I have the talent and I can do it and I get the results, which I do, that's all I need.
Yes. And I wrote down like PhD or bust. Like, I feel like some people are like, well, and it's also too, because you're living in the Northeast where there's a value system there that, I feel like living in Denver, this question I would say barely comes up. But in New York, what school did you go to is like right after what do you do for a living, and it's like saying what country club are you a member of? Like it's like it comes with all this meaning that people attach to it, and the more letters you have after your name, like the more you elevate or ascend to the person, and I think that, but that's like an illusion, like, because that's not true. Because really, like, we can't be bothered with that, like, level of conversation. To me, it just sounds so funny now, because I also kind of had my own story, and inside EDA, I talk about it. But like it's just remarkable how at the end of the day, you just realize you are just a person who loves history, and you're trying to find out a story. And there are people out there that are also just like you, and they're hanging out in Facebook groups, and no one cares about the letters. They just care about the work, And really, what's that?
And the connection. The biggest thing I've noticed is that connection you have human to human, heart to heart. I mean, you can't just look into somebody's history and, oh, here are the facts, that's it, here you go. No, you really have to have a passion for it, have a respect for it, because it's people. I mean, you're talking, it's their story, it's something that's part of them. Mm-hmm. And you have to have that. And I'm like, well, that was naturally there. So I noticed as long as I have all that, I'm good.
Yeah, and so that's funny that you say that, and I wonder if Henry's thinking about this right now, because when we first started doing interviews for the film, I'm like, I don't have any experience doing interviews. Like, who am I to sit down and interview this super famous person or whomever? Like, I felt like such an imposter. And at one point, I kind of discovered something, and that was... and then I later shared with Henry, because he's like, you did a really good job. And I'm like, yeah, I decided that instead of trying to be like the best interview ever, like the interviewer, instead of trying to be like Barbara Walters, like with zero experience, I'm just going to try to make a new friend. And I say I'm nosy by nature. Like, I'm a very nosy person. But in the interview world, my nosiness really works. And so, like, and another way of saying it is I'm very curious. And so I like want to know about your family. Why'd you decide this? Like, I just love learning about people. And once I made that decision, like, I'm just going to make a new friend because I'm just kind of curious by nature. It changed everything. And so then I said, well, I could totally do this. I'm born for this. And so it sounds like you had a very similar realization. And one thing I just really want to highlight here is our higher selves know the truth. Like, our higher version of ourselves, the one that won't leave us alone, like Rosalia said, the one that won't stop bugging you. It's like the friend that won't stop nudging you, right? They know what they're talking about. And they know, like, if you just, like, if you can just go in this direction and just keep going and do the thing, that you're going to learn to take better care of yourself and get what you need. They know that you're going to realize that just showing up exactly as you are and exactly as you're not, just you, is going to be enough. Not only is it going to be enough, but it could change someone else's life. When we embrace that person that we are, that's not trying to be anybody else, but our actual true self, that will deliver everything. That actually is the deliverer of all of our hopes and dreams. And the funny thing is that we're like the last to know. But once we get it, right? And so, exactly. I really love, and it's true, you are a very loving person, and I'll never forget the day that we met. And it's funny how I'll never forget that moment. And then we ended up going out to dinner that night, and then you drove me home, and we just have had some fun moments. And then now that we're working together, it's like there is a way that you have to be when you're delivering information about someone's past. And you can't deliver it like you're reading a history book out loud. No, you can't. No. You have to have something that makes a person feel like they can trust you with this information.
I almost cried with you.
I definitely feel like we're in this together. There's no doubt about that. So thank you, Irisneri.
You're welcome.
All right, Gina, tell us about a time when you felt like you were an imposter, and then what did you do about it?
Well, it's interesting because, again, just, being in the corporate world, it can be extremely, intimidating. I mean, I've sat around a boardroom with 12 men in suits, and they're all millionaires, and they're all questioning me on the recommendation that I'm giving for the corporate brand. and they're coming at me like they think that they know it, because that's who they are. But what they don't know is that I know it better. And they're not, you just have to have this type of thinking where you're not going to stop me. And you get that from, and I think it's like you were talking about, Denise, it's, your higher self is always there telling you that you're not an imposter. And where I got that from in dealing with these type of people throughout my career was, my childhood and the things that I went through my childhood. It was, a very dramatic, traumatic, incredible, awesome, weird storybook type of childhood. It would curl your hair if I told you the whole story. But I found that experience as a child, and this, I could speak for my siblings as well, kind of gave me this superpower, if you will. And so I feel it all the time in whoever that I'm dealing with, and the fact that nobody can intimidate me because I've been through what I've been through. They may intimidate me for a second or two, but I always bring myself in check. Like, okay, you didn't go through what I did. It's just like this type of thinking, and you actually have sympathy for them in a way. So that's how I've always coped with imposter syndrome. And I really don't think I've had a problem with it, just because of my experience of being in the corporate world and not letting people intimidate me. And coming to the conclusion of, yes, I want to be a writer. I've never written an article, but what I do know is I do know branding, I know marketing, I know creativity. I know that people have been inspired and awed by my writing before. I have those friends that keep on telling me, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And that's what keeps me going. So again, it's about, those superpowers that I talked about, your inner chingona, your higher self that knows that it can be done. That's basically, I think, what we all have.
That's awesome, Gina. And I love how you said your inner chingona. That is totally awesome. And I want to acknowledge you, because you can imagine how many people tell me writing a book is probably the number one thing that people tell me they want to do. Like after a screening, I really want to write a book. And I'm like, write the book. And, but I can't give them the whole course, obviously, in a 5-minute conversation. And, and I just want to give you accolades, like you're writing the book.
Right. And it goes back to what we're talking about too, is the accountability. Because it's like part of signing on to this program. It's like, I got tired of people saying, or telling people, my friends, I have an idea for a book, or I have an idea of something to invent, or I have something that I want to trademark. I just got like really tired of, I just kept on saying that over. And it was just kind of embarrassing when I thought about it and how many times I've told it to people. And it's just like, okay, just stop the insanity. Let's sign on to this course and see what happens. And that really helped me as well.
Yeah, and it sounds like too, like with, you had a similar revelation as Rosalia. It's kind of like the now or never. Yeah. And which is really cool. And also like taking stock too, which is something that she said as well. For anyone listening or watching, just remember who you are. And easier said than done. I'm going to say that first. And second, remember what you've been through. Because I pretty much can guarantee it's going to be harder. You've been through something much harder than what you're feeling intimidated by right now. And I'm just going to take a bet on that. Okay. And even if it's not true, at least it'll get you through that moment. All right, ladies, one last question. What would you tell people that are on the fence about EDA? So there are people, and I mean, one of the first things that Irisneri told me, I was like, oh my gosh, hi, nice to meet you. We gave each other hugs. And like within like 30 seconds, she's like, I really want to join EDA, but blah, 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 like that. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And then I'm like, what do you want to do? And she told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I want to work with you so bad. And I was so excited hearing about, I want to be a genealogist someday. And like, now I'm actually working with her on my genealogy. And like, that was just 6 months ago, it feels like, right? Like that was March. And, it's incredible how quickly things can change. But I would say I had a joke about Irisneri, like she kind of came into the course kicking and screaming, and and she lets me tease her like that. I'm gonna let you answer this first, Irisneri. Like, what would you tell people knowing that you resisted? Like your resistance was very high, but once you lowered it, it was like you were a bat out of hell, I have to say. So what someone else is on the fence just like you were. What do they need to know?
There is no perfect time. Don't keep waiting for that perfect time. Don't keep waiting to say, oh, I'm going to finish this. Oh, after I finish that. No, after, maybe when I finish organizing that and make room for this. Stop. Just stop. If you're already thinking you want to do EDA, do it. Because then that means that your inner self is already telling you, you're ready. You're done. You go. Do it. So just don't think about it. Just do it. And that's what it was. And finally, it took to the last second, I think. And literally, I fought it to the last very second because the fear, and don't let the fear hold you back, because fear is your worst enemy in this too. Don't wait for that perfect action. Don't let fear, just do it. Close your eyes and just do it. And once you do it, you're not going to regret it. You're not just, everything starts falling into place. No, it's not a magic pill in the sense there's still struggles within yourself, but having that accountability, really the magic of women coming together to empower each other. There's just no words to describe that. And I am so happy that I made that jump and met all these women, and whoever I'm speaking to, you're going to feel that too. It's your group is just going to become, you're probably going, no, I don't talk to strangers. I don't see myself getting close to strangers. What do you mean? You will. And you're going to bond with them like you never have bonded before, and it's just they're going to become one of your best cheerleaders. But just don't think about it and just do it.
Awesome.
My 6 months me to now, it's totally different. And like I said, that life I used to picture as a dream, my best life, I'm actually planning for it because I can see that it's going to happen.
That's awesome. Thank you. All right.
Welcome.
All right, Rosalia, what's your advice to the people that are on the fence?
Well, I just want to say I was not on the fence. I was waiting anxiously for the doors to open.
She was like, hello, like, what are you
I remember I was actually nervous that I wouldn't qualify. I remember being on the call and going, I don't know if I can make it in, but I'm hoping that I can. Because I was just at such a beginning stage with this business, and I initially thought that you had to be like further ahead. And you were like, no, you can be wherever you are, and you just need to go to that next place. So wherever that next place is, I can help you get there. And that was all I needed to hear, because I didn't even know what that next place was yet. I mean, I had some ideas, but they weren't concrete. And that's where I was like needing help, right? And I think that for me, it was knowing that you were the kind of coach that I needed. Like, I loved your energy in the film, and I loved your energy in like just all of your social media content, and seeing other, I'd seen some of your other interviews as well with previous EDA students. And I was like, okay, this is concrete. And I jumped in with very little fear, because I already had gotten to know you a little bit, and I was just ecstatic, because you were the perfect mix of like pushing me along when I was uncomfortable of doing something, and you were like, no, you've got to do this. And I would do it, and I would see immediate results. And that was super powerful in helping me be even more motivated to keep going, right? Because I was terrified at some of the stuff. I was like, oh, in 3 months from now, I want to do this. And you're like, well, what if you did it in 3 weeks from now? I was like, what? Okay, I will try it, because you're giving me the advice, and there's like a community of support. So I was like, well, you know, I'll leap, and the net will hopefully appear. And it was like, great. I made this next step, and things happened, and then other things happened. And it was like this, I remember thinking at one point, like, I get the name now of like Accelerated, because it felt like I was like, I hit the gas and I was going. And it was like terrifying and exciting at the same time. And I have zero regrets. I'm like so happy that I jumped in. So for anyone who's on the fence, if your voice, like, you know, like Irisneri said, if there's something inside of you that hasn't any like little bit of inclination to do it, it's because your inner voice, your inner wisdom is pointing you in the right direction. So jump in.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. All right, Gina, what do you have to say for the fence sitters?
So think of yourself, your future self, in 3 to 6 months, and how disappointed you are going to be if you don't do this. Or another way to look at it is how excited you are that you did it. Because I can guarantee you, you're going to feel either way. I just want to, you know, to let those fence sitters know that Denise is cool. Like, she is just, you know, she's your girl. It's like, you can tell her anything. She makes you feel so comfortable to open up. And you start realizing that the people that you're on the call with, you feel comfortable with them as well. And what actually results in all this is like there's this kinship, this sisterhood that forms. And, you know, I really miss our calls, and I know that you guys miss them too. I mean, it was nice. You know, I got an email from Jill last week just asking me, you know, how was I? You know, she has this going on. It was like kind of cool, but it's just like I really, really miss that. And you'll be missing out on it too. And, you know, one thing too that you don't realize is the golden nuggets that fall into your universe, if you will, when you go along this journey, that you don't realize that we're there. You know, during the journey, I found that I had another idea for a really cool novel that I want to write. And I never would have thought down that path had I not done some of those exercises. And just being able to, you know, help other people with their branding. I mean, that really made me feel good. And of course, you know, meeting Denise and being exposed to this world of entrepreneurship that she has pursued, it has really made me, you know, think about all the opportunity that's out there for everybody if they want it. But the thing is you have to move and do it. I mean, if you want to stew and marinate in mediocrity, that's fine. But at some point you have to, you know, write down, well, what's the reason for me wanting to do this? Or what's the reason why I have this dream? And I think if you write it down, it'll help you make a decision that, you know, you really should sign up for this. Again, because your future self, I swear, is going to thank you.
Thanks so much, Gina. And I also have to add, I'm also working with Gina. It's funny, like, do what you love and you'll get everything you need. And I'm actually working with all 3 women on this call, full disclosure, on all of their great gifts. And so Gina is working on our new brand. And so we'll be sharing that very soon. So really excited to be working with you on that too, Gina. Just want to say thanks so much, ladies. You did say you missed each other, and I miss you too. And want to let everybody know that these superstars are going to be in EDA. So if you're like, wow, well, how can I like get to know them and whatever, because your names will probably be Googled or you'll be looked up on Facebook and Instagram, and we will add all of your handles in the show notes so that people can reach out to you if they want to work with you. But you all 3 will be, and including Jill, that was also couldn't make this call today, will be in the next EDA as well. And so you'll be able to get to know them and rub shoulders with these awesome amazing women. So I just want to say thanks so much for being a part of this today. Thanks so much for coming together to help support the next group of women that are kind of peeking over the fence and seeing, am I ready? Do I have what it takes? Am I going to be good enough? Am I all the things that people ask themselves? And hopefully what this call has done and what this podcast has done is to kind of turn the volume down, to use a term that we've been talking about today on the call, and help them realize that they are absolutely ready and the water's great and they should come on in. So any last final words? This is very EDA, and EDA, there's always a chance to say any final words. So we'll just keep that tradition going and give anybody on the call a chance to say any words of completion. So whoever wants to talk can share.
I'll go and say that I'm really happy to know that you ladies are joining again. I was like, I hope I'm not the only one, because I had such an awesome experience. I was sad when it was ending, and it went so fast that I'm just really excited that there is an opportunity to continue. So I jumped on as soon as I could, and I'm excited to meet everybody else that's on, that's going to jump into this, because I know that you attract amazing people, and there's more magic that's to come.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel very blessed to be able to attract such phenomenal people, as evidenced by this call / podcast. All right, Irisneri, any words that you need to say to be complete?
Oh, first, same as Rosalia. I'm happy that we're all joining, because I miss all of you so much. There's a lot going on, and I can't wait to share and be able to share and keep sharing. And I miss all of you, and I can't wait to see what else happens, what more magic is going to come. What Denise really has a gift. She has a gift, and it shows. Listen to us. That's all you have to do. Listen to this podcast, and that's the magic she brings, and then the rest of us bring our own magic, and it's just amazing. And I can't wait.
Thank you. All right, Gina.
Basically, I wanted to know, too, how fast time flies. I mean, Denise, I think I first called you back in March or April. Mm-hmm. And then, before I know it, I was signed up for the 7-week course, which just goes so quickly. And here it is, almost September. I mean, it's amazing how much work, I've done personally in between that time, but also seeing what everybody else has done. So again, if you're hesitating, just keep that in mind. You're thinking, oh no, I'll sign up for next year. Just realize that time flies really quickly. And, the benefit of that is that, you get your goals done quickly. So that's one of the main benefits as well.
Yeah, thanks. And I just got the chills when you said that, because just being present to how fast, and also just seeing how far everyone has come. So 2 things I want to say to be complete. The first thing is that the structure of the program is much longer this time. So we will be making announcements. So if you are not on the wait list, now would be the time to join. And so you can kind of get how the course is structured. It's going to be longer than 7 weeks, but there is going to be a sprint at the beginning so that you can also have very quick results, just like the ladies on this call. A. B, many women ask for this, and this group has asked for it as well, which is, or they've said, I wish we could all meet in person. And so there is a retreat that is being planned for February of next year. So if you guys are wanting to do that, know that EDA is the only way that you can get into the retreat. Okay, so my guess is there's limited spots in the retreat, and everyone that's done it thus far will be invited to come. And so it is one of the benefits is that everybody does get a chance to meet each other and hang out for a few days and do this work in person and eat great food and just have an amazing transformative time, but this time in person. So thanks so much for listening. Thanks for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you ladies in the next EDA. And listeners, thanks so much for adding yourself to the wait list. You will be glad you did. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
You guys are the best. Thank you so much. This episode is brought to you by the Eñye Dream Accelerator, which is a coaching program designed specifically for ambitious Latinas who are ready to take action on your biggest dream so that you can finally live the life that you imagine. If you even think you're ready to jump, join the waitlist today at mydreamwaitlist.com. Thanks for listening, and join us next time on the Self-ish Latina podcast, where we get to be self-ish together.